Hi there, welcome to The Guilty Knitter. I'm Vivian, aka The Guilty Knitter. It's been, I don't know, since the beginning of COVID that I haven't really felt like recording for some reason. I don't know, I think the, the whole situation has affected people in different ways. And I definitely have found that I just wasn't in the mood to do any videos, so I just didn't do it. I did one at the very beginning, so that would be in March, probably mid-March. And since then, nada. But here I am at the cottage of my brother-in-law, my brother's, my husband's brother. And sorry, just had to turn off my phone. And I thought, well, this might be a good occasion to give you a little update on what's been going on with me. And I did bring, of course, a couple of projects with me. And actually, one is a whip and one is an FO. So that seems kind of like I have something to talk about. Well, before I get started with that, though, I want to, bring you up to date. I guess most of you know that I'm a member of an orchestra, the Orchestre Symphonique de Montréal, and I play trombone. And so we've been off since March 13th. And luckily, we've been getting some pay, not 100%, but we're getting paid enough to keep body and soul together for sure. So we've been really lucky. A lot of orchestras have not done so well. And so I'm grateful for that, for our administration for doing their best to keep everything together. And they've actually come up with some interesting ideas for us to perform this summer, and they're trying to figure out what we're going to do in the fall, and it's all very up in the air, of course. But at least now Quebec's numbers are starting to go down, or plateau at least. It took a long time, and we were definitely the embarrassment of the country. Specifically Montreal. Montreal had the worst numbers because of, well, they were mostly in the old age homes and the residences, and that was an absolute eye opener, I think, for a lot of people to see how badly they've been run on the whole. I've got little Monty here, still alive and kicking. He just wants to be in my lap now. So let's see if he will settle down. Yeah, so that's what's going on with that. So it's been tricky to get used to being at home so much and not seeing our friends and not hanging out, doing our usual things as much. My husband's been doing like all the shopping pretty much, so I haven't been to a store more than a handful of times. I know people who haven't gone to the store at all. They've had everything delivered, which I had never even really thought about. I just thought, well, that's more for people, that are in their 70s. But no, 70s and up. See, I figure I'm a spring chicken. I'm not even 60 yet. So I don't have to worry. Well, anyway, of course, everybody should be careful and use their masks when they go out and this and that, but when they go to the store and all that. But yeah, since Dave's been doing all the risk taking, I feel pretty safe. Although if he brings it home, then I'm sunk. So that's what's been happening, and it's been good because partly, Dave and I joke that we're getting, practicing for our retirement, and that's that's coming up in a year or so. So this is practically retirement. I mean, I could actually retire before I had planned to, but I'm gonna kind of wait and see what happens with the orchestra. And because we have done a little bit of playing here and there, and like small groups. I did some quintet things, and I'm going to be doing some brass trio stuff coming up with a circus. not circus, but circus performers, like a couple of them, jugglers and trampoline artists, I think, in random places in Montreal. So that'll be kind of fun, and it's great to be playing when I do play. So yeah, maybe I'm not ready to retire. I don't know. I'll see. I'll see how it goes. And of course, beyond my little circle, there's been Black Lives Matter, which has really hit me this time, and I think it has hit a lot. I mean, obviously, it's hit a lot more people this time. This time, when I say this time, I mean, for some reason, George Floyd's and all the other murders that happened around that time have just woken people up somehow. I really hope so. Yeah, to examine my prejudices and see where they are and learn about black black culture and what people go through every day. Not just on the days that people get murdered, but on every day. They're dealing with things that I never had to deal with. In fact, just the other day, I had to go out and talk to a city worker that was working on my on our street. I wanted to get our car out, and it was a little tricky because they got all these trucks. So I went up to this guy and I said hello, how are you? And he said fine, in French, of course. I said, would you mind if could I get my car out in 5 minutes? And he was very agreeable and said, no problem, I can move my truck, blah, blah, blah. And for some reason, I mean, and this would never have occurred to me before, but it occurred to me to wonder if I had been a dark-skinned person, if I had been black, would he have been as friendly as me? I don't know. Would he have been as accommodating? And that kind of made me feel really sad, that's I just assumed that people. I mean, of course I try to be friendly, and but I just assume that people are going to be friendly back, and that's something that I really take for granted. And I thought, yeah, I'm gonna stop taking that for granted. I'm gonna stop doing that. I truly hope I will. And also, I don't know, just watching out for times when I could speak out and could say something or help somebody who doesn't have the kind of privilege that I have. And I plan to do more reading. I want to read this book called White Fragility, although it kind of bothers me a little bit that it's written by a white woman. I feel like maybe I should be just reading, people's experiences from the source. But on the other hand, I think her point of view would be so similar to mine that it might be worth reading because she has apparently done a ton of work on her own racism and her own white fragility, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, so I think I'll probably read it, but I'm also planning on reading a bunch of other books, and we'll see how that goes. What else has been going on? Well, the pandemic, yeah. Anyway, just crazy. I hope it passes pretty soon. We had a little bit of a scare because Dave played a duet little concert with a guy on the streets of Montreal. And a day later, he wrote to Dave and said, "Oh, I had a headache and a fever last night, and I'm going to go get tested for COVID." I'm like, what? Because here we are at my brother-in-law's cottage, and my son and his wife were going to be here. Girlfriend, sorry. We're going to be here with us as well. And I thought, oh, great. This is not good. But anyway, it turned out to be negative. Thank goodness. His test, I mean. So I think he had sunstroke because he was out in the sun for 2.5 hours with no hat. That was dumb. Hate to say it. What else has been going on? I'm really excited with what my daughter's been doing. She's living in London, UK, and she's been doing a lot of music and music videos that she's created in her apartment, which is kind of incredible. Yeah, I'm gonna put some links down below. Yeah, if you want to look for her, she is Emily Martin on YouTube and everywhere, on all the Spotify, whatever, but all those places you can find her. But yeah, but her videos are so worth watching. They're super entertaining. And I actually have a cameo in the last one, which is called The Patio. It's a great summer song. And yeah, our local yarn store, going back to knitting, the Espace Tricot, is still running. I mean, they're not open, but they're doing a lot of online business, I think, and that's great. I think the stores that had a really good online store before this happened are doing better than those who didn't, obviously. So I think they're surviving pretty well, although the timing was unfortunate. They had just opened a new space before this happened. So I don't know how they're managing to pay double rent, really. But I haven't really needed to buy yarn much. So I haven't done any yarn buying, in fact, since like online or any, I don't think. Maybe one thing, but even then, I don't think so. I just been using my stash, which has been terrific. But I need to look at what I'm going to do next, because I finished a big project, which I'm going to show you in a second, and I need a new big project. I think it'll be another garment, probably a summer top. That's what I'm thinking. I wanted to use some stash that I had, some fingering, lace weight silk, like like what do you call that? The raw silk kind of thing, It's nice yarn, but I haven't got quite enough, and I think I've talked about this before. Anyway, so I need to get something to fill it out, I think, because it's not enough. Okay, so I will. How about we start with my FO, which is the Big Spite Shawl by Vera Velimaki. And it is really, really fun. You see that? It's really quite long, but not very wide, like not terribly wide. So I'm just gonna, I'll try to take some decent pictures and put them in here. You see the different sections? Aren't they amazing? I especially love this section here with the short row sections, the short row wide stripes, and there's lots of brioche. Yeah, you see that? Brioche, brioche, brioche. And then this is the wrong side, which also looks pretty cool. It's got, I used two kinds of yarn by the Polka Dot Sheep. I mean, it's actually merino silk, I think, and it's all fingering weight. I have all the details on my Ravelry page, so you can check that out. I'll put the link down below in the show, well, in the notes below there. And the red, or the burgundy, or whatever you want to call it, is Madeline Tosh Light. And that's a beautiful yarn as well. I just love the different the colors you can see. I don't know if it picks it up in this light, but there's little specks of this and that in there, just really rich color. I think all of these yarns are great. I actually had the Polka Dot Sheep yarn in one of those Instagram giveaway things, which was kind of fun. I don't win things very often, so that was pretty fun. Okay, about this pattern. Okay, so I joined and paid for, of course, Knit Star's I think I have 3. I have 1, 3, and 4, I believe. Anyway, so I started with Knit Stars 3, which is a really, really good one to start with. Like, I'm glad I picked that one. It has Arne and Carlos and Vera Velnaki and, what's her name? Crystal Sayforth. Pretty sure she's in there. Anyways, several really good designers, and they talked about various things, but Vera talked a lot about striping and short rows, which are her kind of favorite things to work with as a designer. So this is the design she did for Knit Stars 3, but you can get this pattern on Ravelry now as a separate pattern, and I totally recommend the knit. It's super fun. I mean, if you've never done brioche, it's it might be a little challenging because you have to do some decreases and increases. I think if you're going to start, you know, just when you're first starting brioche, you might want to just do something that doesn't have that, like a cowl, just a simple cowl. But I mean, aside from that, I mean, if you've done a bit of brioche, you can totally do this. I think the problems that I had with it were just that when I did have an issue, like I dropped a stitch or whatever, for some reason it was always like right around the decrease section, like the spot where I had to decrease or increase. So so that was tricky, but I did manage to fix it. I mean, I couldn't go to Espace Tricot and get them to fix it, so I had to fix it myself, and so that was probably really good practice for me. In this second to last section of the shawl, which is this part which has this sort of brioche striping, I near the very end of that section, I don't know. I was I was knitting with a couple of glasses of wine in me, I think. Not a good idea, really, when you're knitting brioche, but nevertheless, that's what happened. So what I did was I was knitting along, and I thought I had made a mistake. Oh, that should be a knit, and it's a purl. So I tried to fix it, and I freaking ruined it. Like, I thought, I'm gonna have to take out like a whole inch to get back to where I know what I'm doing. But actually, I only had to take out a couple of rows, and then I was able to figure it out, how to fix it. So, I mean, it might not be perfect, but I really don't think you can tell. It's not a big deal at all. I figure the man on a galloping horse can't tell, then I'm good. No, I mean, obviously there's things that I can't leave in for my own. You know, if it's going to bother me, I would definitely not leave something in, but it doesn't, you know, I think I have a better, if it's something that I just know was a mistake, but it's not going to jump out at me, then I'm not going to worry about it. So that's my take on it. When there's when you finally get to the point where you can fix your own brioche mistakes, it's pretty fun. It's kind of cool. You just feel like you've made it to another level of knitting. And actually, I learned how to fix certain, like the basic dropped a stitch mistake by looking at YouTube videos. Because, like, I think the problem with going to your LYS and asking for help is that often they don't really have time to like show you how to do it. They just fix it, you know. But yeah, but that doesn't help you, you know, fix it the next time. So it's good to kind of figure it out yourself or with the help of videos. And so that's been going well. I know that some people, I was sitting on, I'm on Instagram quite a bit. In case you were looking for me, I am Guilty Knitter on Instagram and The Guilty Knitter on YouTube and on Ravelry. Should have mentioned that at the beginning. What was I going to say? Yeah, so I was on Instagram quite a bit during this. I'm always on Instagram quite a bit, but since the Black Lives Matter movement you know, got stronger. A lot of people and a lot of black knitters were saying that they just can't focus on knitting, and they couldn't focus, and I totally get that. But for me, even when all this stuff was happening and my brain was full of all that, I really found a lot of solace in knitting. And I mean, I couldn't knit anything too complicated at that point. I was knitting this. I had a sweater on the go that was just regular, mostly just stockinette stitch, so that was easy. That's the kind of thing I was knitting. And there are some garter stitch sections in this shawl, so when I hit those sections, it was a little easier. But I was amazingly comforted by knitting throughout this whole pandemic and throughout everything that's been going on. So I'm glad that I didn't lose my knitting mojo, even though I lost my podcasting mojo. And you know, I think one reason why I decided to give this another try was because I've been watching, I'm kind of addicted to these podcasts by Evelyn from the internets. If you haven't checked her out, she's super charming and really fun to watch. And she's been doing a vlog, well, whatever you call it, I guess, anyway, videos for 10 years, and she's only not even 30, I don't think. So she started really young. But it's, anyway, just check her out, Evelyn from the internets, and she has a lot of helpful advice for people who are doing the same thing that she's doing. So I thought, well, I can do some of that and make hopefully my videos seem a little more fun, a little more entertaining. Yeah, well, we'll see. I want to have fun with it anyway. That's the main thing. Okay, so that's my Vera Velamaki shawl, Big Spite shawl. What else about this? Oh yeah, I wrote this in my notes on Ravelry, but she recommends when you're doing garter stitch wraps and turns that you don't have to pick up the wraps when you meet them, like when you have to knit over them, which worked when I only had one to pick up, but there is a section during these big short rows, those big fat short row stripes, where you have to pick up quite a few in a row, and that's where I found that I needed to pick up the wraps because the holes were just too obvious. So I had to go back and fix that. But any other time when you only had one to pick up, it was totally fine to just knit without picking up the wraps in garter stitch, not in stockinette. But she uses a lot of garter stitch, which I love, I have to say. I love garter stitch shawls. I'm not sure I'll ever do another one that is not a garter stitch shawl. I just finished a poncho for my daughter-in-law, Allison, she's my son's girlfriend, fiance actually. So I made a poncho for her birthday, and it was in stockinette. And I have to say, it was fun because there was a lot of color changes. I'll put a picture up here in this area somewhere to show you. I've done it. I did that during lockdown. Started in April, I think. Well, her birthday was in April, and I started it right around her birthday. So, and I think I finished it 3 weeks ago, maybe. So she got it a little bit late, but she likes it. So that was good. And but yeah, I definitely prefer a garter stitch shawl. Definitely. Okay, so I don't know what else to tell you about this. I love the fact that you knit the edging along with, at the same time. So it's an I-cord that you just keep going. It's part of the pattern, part of the knitting. And it makes it super easy. So the only sort of major I-cord bind off is the bind off. That's the only I-cord section you have to do without it being part of the thing. Did that make any sense? Anyway, so about this much, I guess. Hold on. something like this much of I-cord that you had to bind off at the end. And it was that was pretty easy. Anyway, loved it. Loved it, loved it. And I was kind of sad when it was over, to tell you the truth, because, anyway, some things are just so fun to knit. It reminds me a lot of a Stephen West pattern. And I've showed it to some of my family, and they know Stephen West's patterns because I've knit a few of them, and they, you know, and I've talked about him a lot. And they were like, "Is that a Stephen West pattern?" I was like, "No, 5-year Valimaki." But yeah, they're very, they're kind of similar, and in some ways, definitely the garter stitch. They both love garter stitch. They both love brioche. So there are definite similarities there. And they both do that thing where they knit in the I-cord edge, which is something that Stephen West started doing after a while. Like, I don't think when I did the Vertices Unite, I don't think that has an I-cord included in the, you know what I mean, as you go kind of thing. If I'm wrong, I might be wrong, but I know there was at least one of his I did that I had to do a whole I-cord around it, so I don't know if it was that one. Okay, so that was my FO. I do have other things at home, but I didn't bring them, so I'm going to show you. Oh, I have a half-finished object, so I think that's kind of fun. So in other words, it's a pair of socks, which I have done one of them. Look how pretty that is. I'm so happy with it. So I kind of made this up. To be honest, I was inspired by a pattern, by actually a store sample over at Espace Tricot, which is where I bought this yarn, which is Regia, however you say that, sock yarn in their, I think it's called Yak, you know, it's merino yak and nylon. It's really, really nice yarn to knit with. I don't have the tags here. I think I threw them out. But anyway, if you want to look on my Ravelry page, it's all there. So that's the gray, the light gray. This is the dark gray. Can you see that difference there? Hopefully. I think so. And then this is the red, which I used a unicorn tail. I think it's Madeline Tosh that does unicorn tails, if I'm not mistaken. And this is, it's their, gosh darn it, the flies are getting bad for some reason. Oh, got him, yay, deer fly. Yeah, this is really, oh, you can't really see what a nice red it is because it's looking orangey, but really, hopefully when you see it in reality, it'll come back to the right color. I don't know. Anyway, it's a much more vibrant red than it seems to be coming out on the screen. Beautiful. So yeah, that's a unicorn tail, which is a single ply, mostly merino, I think, or all merino. I'm not sure. So that was fun. So what I did was I looked at this pattern at I'll write the name of the pattern down below because I didn't buy the pattern, which I, kind of feel bad about, but I thought to myself, I could totally make something up similar to that. And so I did. So I just changed they had like a similar idea with leaves and a flower pattern, but I think it was a rose and then the stripes. That was basically the idea of the sock, and I thought, oh my god, I love it. So I thought I could do my own version, and so I did. I made up this sort of tulip pattern. It could also be hearts, whatever. And then this little leaf thing, which I actually borrowed from my Birkin sweater pattern by Caitlin Hunter. But this, I didn't use it exactly. I used a little bit of it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a real designer, so maybe I will be someday, you never know. But I'm, it's fun. So, I did use more stitches than I've ever used on a sock, I think. I used 72 stitches, started at the top. It's probably good though, because I needed a little extra room for the color work because it is a little tighter, but it's fine. It's not too tight. And then I actually decided it was going to be way too loose on the foot. So once I got down to where I started the heel, was it there? Yeah, well, you know, you do the heel back and forth, you do the flap, and then the turn. Anyway, so in that, when I got back to knitting in the round, I, God damn these stupid things. I reduced the stitches to 64 actually, and that is fine. It's totally fine. It's also, it's a little loose around here. If I were to do another pair, I might try to do 68 stitches, but then I don't know. I'd have to adjust the my pattern, my color work pattern, because it didn't. Yeah, I'm not sure how easy it would be to cut it down 4 stitches. It might be a little hard. I'll have to see. But so it worked well with 72, and then down to 64 for the foot. And this is a longer heel flap than I've ever done either. Two. This, because I was using 72 stitches, I ended up doing a longer gusset to sort of balance it out or something. But actually, I think it works quite well. It's a good size for me. So I was happy with that. And I experimented as I went along for, you know, the striping. I don't know if you can see that. The sun has suddenly gone away. But you can see that they're definitely not jogless. But I put them on the bottom of my foot and the back of my leg. So it doesn't really matter too much. But I wanted to experiment with how to do the job, how to make the striping look, and how to carry the yarn. Like, sometimes it shows too much here where I carried the yarn, and so I had to figure that out. But I think I got better at it as I went along. I ended up doing this technique where when you switch to the new color, you do one row of the new color, and then the next row you pull up the stitch below the first stitch on the row, and then you knit it together with the first stitch on the row. And that seems to help even it out a little bit, makes it look less of a jog. Although frankly, it still looks like it's got a jog, so I'm not sure it's worth the effort. But anyway, it got a little bit better, but you know, it's not an exact science, especially not, I don't know, I haven't done tons of striping. But it's fun. I was glad to be doing it because I find stripes just keep you motivated. Whether or not you're making the stripes or whether it's self-striping yarn, it's just more fun to see the stripes come. And then you just think, oh, I can just finish this stripe. Oh, I can just finish this stripe. And it goes way faster. So I started the second sock. And here it is. Just started the cuff, and I want to write this whole thing down. I did write down what I did with the heel, which is the most complicated part of it. So I think that will be good. It will show what I did, and that'll help me with the whole writing up thing. I'll have to try and figure out how to do a chart. Anyway, no, I don't plan to charge for this pattern if it ever gets out there, or maybe I'll charge a nominal fee or something like that if I can get it to a state where it makes sense to do it. But anyway, for my own edification, I want to be able to write it down. There's quite a few bugs out here, but it's funny because you can hear the birds and the wind. And I don't know, it's just where he has his cottage is in Lake St. Peter. It's my brother-in-law, and which is near Algonquin Park, on the eastern side of Algonquin Park. And it's really lovely here. Yeah, we've been here over the years many times. And it's just very chill. Aside from the people with the ATVs and the and yeah, that kind of thing. And the people who have to mow their lawns. I always think that's, I mean, I suppose maybe I would mow my lawn once in a while too if I would have a country place, but anyway, some people are a bit sticky about it, so it makes lots of noise for the country people. I like it. I think it's a little less noisy. That's why I come here. Anyway, getting back to my sock, I do want to write it out because for my own edification, and I might try to do a second, like a different size, maybe a 64 stitch size. I'll see how that works. Anyway, also, look at how nice my toe came out. It's a little sharp. It's a little, like, a little pointy, but not too badly. And I used the, gosh, it's not the Kitchener stitch. It's another stitch that, oh my goodness, how is it? I just thought of it earlier today, what the name was. Oh. Anyway, I got it from Roxanne Richardson's podcasts. So I will put a link to that episode because, or to that little tutorial, because it is such a game changer. It's so easy compared to Kitchener stitch. I mean, if you already love Kitchener stitch and have no trouble with it, then go for it and be my guest. But it's not that I can't do Kitchener stitch, but this is just way easier and it has the exact same result. Look, I mean, I don't know if you can see this, but it's totally seamless. It looks really good. No, you probably can't see it, but I promise you it turned out really well. So yeah, is it Fletcher stitch? No, I think it begins with F. All right, well, that's what I'm doing, and I guess that's kind of it for today. I think I got another deer fly. These guys are just insatiable. Thank God we skipped black fly season. Apparently it was terrible. Yuck. But there are lots of mosquitoes and deer flies around for sure. Yeah, so I'm really happy to be back, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to do a little footage around here to show you the property. And yeah, I guess that's it, really. I hope you're all well. I hope if you like this video that you will press like and subscribe. And I will put a link to various things that I talked about. I'll put that below. Please visit my Guilty Knitter Ravelry page if you want. You can join the group. Introduce yourself. There's not a lot going on over there, but hey, feel free to start something. And also, I'm going to put a link to my daughter's latest video below because it's really worth checking out. Okay? I got a cameo, like I said. It was pretty fun to do. All right, well, happy knitting, and do take care of yourselves. Wear a mask when appropriate, and I hope you'll be well until I see you again. Take care. Bye-bye. Here's little Monty. And that's the house, the volleyball / badminton net, and our favorite little spot is this shed right out here. And you can see that there's a fire pit and the shed, mosquito shed, smoking shed as they guys call it. And this is the forest. Busy. path through the forest. Okay, at the end, it's got the whole property fenced off for the dog. And it's pretty sweet. It smells amazing. You know how forest smells. It smells so good. Monty's waiting for me, so I'm gonna say goodbye now.